are being denied the right to see for ourselves the reality on the ground on the West Bank. The Netanyahu government, for example, is currently trying to deport Omar Shakir, a human rights worker with Human Rights Watch, because he has reported on human rights conditions in the West Bank and Gaza. Last year, the Netanyahu government refused entry to American citizen Catherine Frank and my friend Sis Warren, who had arrived on a human rights mission. All of these actions have do nothing to bring us closer to peace. In fact, they do the opposite. They maintain the occupation and prevent a solution to the conflict. Fortunately, we in the United States have a constructive role to play. We give Israel more than $3 million in aid every year. This is predicated on their being an important ally in the region and the only democracy in the Middle East. But denying visit to duly elected members of Congress is not consistent with being an ally, and denying millions of people freedom of movement or expression or self-determination is not consistent with being a democracy. We must be asking, as Israel's ally, the Netanyahu government stop the expansion of settlements on Palestinian land and ensure full rights for Palestinians if we are to give them aid. These are not just my views. These are the views held by the range of experts, peace advocates on this issue. We know Donald Trump would love nothing more than to use this issue to pit Muslims and Jewish Americans against each other. The Muslim community and the Jewish community are being othered and made into the boogeyman by this administration. But as we will hear today, people of all different faiths are coming together to speak up against the status quo in the region. I'm grateful for the solidarity shown by so many of my colleagues in Congress. I understand and appreciate the call for members to avoid traveling to Israel until Rashida and I are allowed to go without condition. But it is my belief that as legislators we have an obligation to see the reality there for ourselves. We have a responsibility to conduct oversight over our government's foreign policy and what happens with the millions of dollars we send in aid. So I would encourage my colleagues to visit, meet with the people we were going to meet with, see the things we were going to see, hear the stories we were going to hear. We cannot let Trump and Netanyahu succeed in hiding the cruel reality of the occupation from us. So I call on all of you to know the occupation is real, barring members of Congress from seeing it does not make it go away. We must end it together. Now it's with honor that I introduce my sister Rashida Tlaib, who has been so brave and resilient and someone who has deep connections to the region and someone who I would have loved to have met her city. Rashida Tlaib.
Thank you so much to my dear friend and colleague, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, for inviting me to her district to join you all today. I am incredibly thankful for her leadership and strength through all she has been dealing with as a woman of color in Congress. I don't know how she does it sometimes, but the outpouring of support we have received from our constituents and supporters across the country shows us how important it is to keep fighting for justice. Today, Reps Omar and Plascat and I were supposed to be on a congressional trip in delegation to the Palestine and Israel. And such delegations are common occurrence for members of Congress. Earlier this month, in fact, 71 other members of Congress traveled to Israel incident. What is not common occurrence is members of Congress being barred from entering a country on these fact-finding missions unless they agree to strict set of rules curtailing their rights or being required to submit their itineraries for stop-by-stop pre-approval. History does have a habit of repeating itself. I learned this week that a former member of Congress, Congressman Charles C. Diggs Jr., was denied entry into apartheid South Africa in 1972. He was also the representative for the 13th Congressional District in Michigan. I was born and raised in the beautiful Detroit, where many of my African American teachers taught me about the realities of oppression, injustice, and the need to speak up and take action. Growing up in a city that has been at the center of many social justice movements for civil rights, labor rights, and equality, and absorbing those lessons has shaped who I am today and drives me to push for peace and justice for the Palestinian and Israeli people. As a young girl visiting Palestine to see my grandparents and extended family, I watched as my mother had to go through dehumanizing checkpoints. Even though she was a United States citizen and proud American, I was there when my Siti was in a terrible car accident, and my cousins and I cried so she could have access to the best hospitals, which were in Jerusalem. I remember shaking with fear when checkpoints appeared in the small village of Bet Orenfoka, tanks and guns everywhere. I remember visiting East Jerusalem with my then husband, and him escorted off the bus, although he was a United States citizen, just so security forces could harass him. All I can do, as my city's granddaughter, as the granddaughter of a woman who lives in occupied territory, is to elevate her voice by exposing the truth the only way I know how. As my Detroit public schools teachers taught me, by humanizing the pain of oppression. Our delegation trip included meetings with Israeli veterans who were forced to participate in military occupation. They also desperately want peace and self-determination for their Palestinian neighbors. They could have shed light into injustices of raids, shootings, demolitions, and child detention. The delegation would have seen firsthand why walls are destructive, not productive. They could have asked the people in Bethlehem how walls cut people off away from economic opportunities, from a way to live, and do psychological damage that lasts forever. All I can do as her granddaughter is help humanize her and the Palestinian people's plight. I know that when we can finally see them as deserving of human dignity, everyone who lives there will be able to live in peace. It is unfortunate that Prime Minister Netanyahu has apparently taken a page out of Trump's book, and even direction from Trump to deny this opportunity. And yes, while folks are shocked that this happened to us, but today we will hear from folks who will help show the reality for many who have been barred from going into Israel, not to be even able to reach the Palestinian people. They are fellow Americans who cannot visit their families or their loved ones. All of us should be deeply disturbed. All of us Americans should be deeply disturbed. And with that, I then thank you so much to my colleague, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, for helping humanize the Palestinian people.
Thank you, Rashida. Next, we will hear from Lana Berwaki, Palestinian American and a Minnesota resident who has never been able to return to her family's homeland of Palestine.
Thank you, Ilhan. Hello. Thank you to Representatives Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib for inviting me to speak today. I was asked to share some of my personal story. I'm Lana Barkawi. I'm the daughter of Palestinian immigrants to this country. I live in Minneapolis with my husband and my 2 children, and although I am Palestinian, I've never been able to visit Palestine. My story is like that of so many people who live in the diaspora caused by the occupation of Palestine by Israel. Palestine is a home I have never seen, and one that I long to see. About 25 years ago, I was a college student visiting family in Jordan with my mother, father, and sisters. We were considering taking a side trip to visit the occupied West Bank, a visit that would include seeing for the first time my father's family's village called Burqa, a small town near the city of Nablus. Burqa, it's the word at the heart of my last name, Bakawi. We are the people of Burqa. Incidentally, this is such a common Palestinian thing that no matter how long your family has been living in exile, your Palestinian identity is strong. Other Palestinians will want to know, what town is your family from? Are you able to visit? If you can go, you should. It's beautiful. Implicit in these questions is a longing for our people to know our homeland and a hope that we can someday return. Back to that summer 25 years ago, ultimately we did not attempt to visit Palestine. As I mentioned, we were in Amman, Jordan, and we would have tried to cross into the West Bank at a bridge crossing that spans the Jordan River. Until under Israel's laws, the decision to allow or to deny our entry would have been made by a heavily armed Israeli soldier. We would have been at their mercy, making ourselves vulnerable to the occupying state of Israel. Ultimately, we did not attempt to visit, and I have to say I was quite disappointed at the time. I was a college student, reckoning with my identity, trying to reconcile everything I knew about my loving family and our close-knit community of Palestinian and other Arab friends in the United States. Balance all of that against the menacing images of Palestinians I constantly saw on the news and in Hollywood. I wanted so badly to visit Palestine and see it all for myself. It was my parents' decision not to attempt to visit, not to attempt to enter Israel. My father talked about our safety. He did not want to put me and my two sisters in harm's way. We knew the stories about what happens to Palestinians when they attempt to enter Israel, the indignities and the fear that Israeli soldiers have the power to put them through. Since that summer, I have come to understand that decision of my parents in a deeper way, that beyond the truth of their concern for our safety, there was a more fundamental truth. My father could not bring himself to be in a position where an Israeli soldier is the person in control of his entry into his homeland. There is an enduring trauma that he and my mother live. They live in exile from Palestine, from Burqa, and from my mother's family's ancestral home in Yafa. And to have the decision of our entry in the hands of an Israeli soldier was too great a psychic anguish to bear. This pales, of course, in comparison to the brutal life under occupation that millions of Palestinians face on a daily basis. Representative Omar is my congresswoman, and I am indebted to her and to Representative Slade for having the courage to bring the cruel and racist occupation of Palestine by Israel into the national conversation. The dispossession and displacement of Palestinians is a human rights issue. It's an issue of injustice, of justice. As U.S. citizens, Representatives Omar and Slade should be free to visit Israel, a country that calls itself a democracy, to learn for themselves how the United States annual military and financial aid of $3 billion are spent. They should be free to defend U.S. citizens' rights to financially resist Israeli policies by participating in the peaceful boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement, a movement inspired by the effective campaign that dismantled the apartheid system in South Africa a few decades ago. Representative Slade should be free to visit her elderly grandmother, her Sitsi. For Israel to deny a family visit or to make it conditional is truly inhumane. Traveling, learning, resisting, visiting family, these are freedoms that we think we have as citizens of the United States. Freedoms that should be upheld by our democracy and by that of Israel if it were the true democracy it claims to be. In my day-to-day life, I have the privilege to work with Arab and other Southwest Asian and North African artists, poets, and filmmakers, making space for their necessary work in a culture that is preoccupied with marginalizing and silencing our community. I'd like to end by reading a poem by the Palestinian-American poet Lina Khalaf Tufaha. Upon arrival, you will need to state the reason for your visit. Don't say, because I want to walk down old roads and caress stone walls the color of my skin. You will need to state the reason for your visit. Don't say, because olives are ready for harvest, and I will coax the fruit from the trees, press it into liquid gold. You will need to state the reason for your visit. Don't say, because my parents' house still sits empty on a bluff overlooking the sea. The green shutters my grandfather had just painted remain sealed shut, and the army listed the property's owners as absentees. You will need to state the reason for your visit. Don't say, because I am carrying prayers in my suitcase for a people who wait, and I'll unfold them, embroidered linens of verse, and spread them out across the land.
Thank you, Lana. I did get a book of poems from Nina.
shit. Oh man.